And just for the benefit of our viewers who are just joining us, I'm joined in studio by three gentlemen: Professor Peter Kagwanja, the CEO of Africa Policy Institute; Aden Canaan, who's a Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency; and Wilberforce Ondo, the Member of Parliament for Funyula constituency.
Correction and apologies. Actually, there's a bit of a mix-up of names. From the statistics given, the winner is the DCP candidate,
yes,
Sami Kamau Wawero. And I want to once again congratulate him. I also want to say I empathize with my party, Jubilee, and the candidates. And I think this is what we have been saying over the years. That the leadership that has been entrusted with the once giant former ruling party, Jubilee, have taken it to the lowest level where it is. And that's what we have been saying. But those of us who have disagreed with the leadership and the trustees, that the route that they have chosen is the route that has contributed to the political death of that once giant former ruling party. And therefore, for those who have remained there, some of us have moved. We still have a space for you. Please come and join us and leave that shell to those who have invested in the destruction of that once giant
political party.
Okay. And I empathize with the candidate. You ought to have been there, because really we could see it, we could feel it, it's not the end of the world.
All right.
But I think it also clearly demonstrates that mismanagement of a political party can lead to the end of that political movement.
And the dwindling of their fortunes.
Yes.
And I'd like your input on this, Prof, because at the end of the day, the late Kiaraho had been voted in using a Jubilee Party ticket for 3 consecutive terms. He had actually fought off a wave of UDA in the Mount Kenya region in 2022. So perhaps it speaks to his deliverables as a Member of Parliament, or the voting patterns of all Kalou constituency who might go against the wave, you know. So earlier on, the Member of Parliament for Eldas hinted at what happened in Kipipiri roughly 31 years ago, which was a race between KANU's Joe Maina and DP's Paul Mwangi. Do you draw similarities between that earlier race and this specific one?
First and foremost, I think Jubilee has been on a downward spiral for a long time, because I don't think the leadership give serious attention to party building, because the survival of a party depends on the leadership that it has put upon itself and the principles that are governing it. I personally wanted to run on Jubilee in 2022 and put my resources and everything at stake. And eventually, the president, the former president, had to apologize, said Dick agreed that they did not carry nomination. So we lost money and we lost resources on that account, and there is a lot of bitterness about those things. But that said, Jubilee tried this luck. I think if they read the signs of the time, I am the deputy party leader of People's Liberation Party. My party leader is Mother Karua. And we looked at it and said, this is not a fight you want to get into. We need to go there, look at the one who has a comparative advantage. And it was very clear. With the people like Medhu there and the team there, I mean, this is what I was defining as a battle of eggs against stones. So William Ruto also knew that he will be minced meat, which is what you have seen. Okay. So it was unwise for Jubilee to decide to have a candidate there. Not because democracy does not require them to do that, but sometimes you follow wisdom, and wisdom is about knowing that a tomato is a fruit, but you don't mix it in a fruit salad. There must be a difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah. Just there. Sorry, there's something the good professor alluded to. David Kirago, in politics, in the definition of many political players, we have a category of politicians called test tube politicians. These are those who ride on the euphoria. Like they have no ground on their own, and every time they have just to cling on somebody just to survive. David Kirago was a self-made politician. And that is why he survived the wave. He survived everything. And I really, I know the people of Kalou will really miss him. And to demonstrate, you saw the wave, the UDA wave in 2022. Prof, you know, in our political system, sometimes your great brains might be your greatest liabilities. So one has to be very careful. And I know why the owners of then the political system do not want you to be in parliament. I hope this time Mother Karua will allow you to be in parliament.
I'll allow myself.
Let's bring in Oundo, because at the end of the day, the UDA party won its first by-election roughly a year to the 2022 general election. In 2021, and I'm just looking up the facts, it was the London Ward Member of County Assembly by-election in Nakuru County on March 4th, 2021. So a lot earlier than this particular by-election in Kalou. But looking at the political lens from where you sit, is this the start of a wave, not just in Mount Kenya region, but across the country? Because as a member of Linda Mwananchi, you're adamant that despite the pollsters showing that William Ruto is leading, you still stand a chance to make him a one-term president, yeah?
As I said, it has got that good feeling that you can redeem the country from the yoke of dictatorship, that you can redeem the country from the yoke of extractive politics that normally engulf a system like what Ruto has brought about. This demonstration is a good springboard to enable people move to the next level. You know, it's a wave. I also want to compare it, the wave after the referendum, the 2005 referendum, that bore ODM, Orange Movement, that really gave Mwai Kibaki a run for his money in 2007 elections. I can see this one building up. You see, if DCP would have lost these elections, it would have been, their supporters plus the Gachagua would have been dampened. But this gives them a momentum to move to the next level. And this gives them a license now to go all over the country and tell the people that Ruto is beatable. There has been this statement by Ruto's people that you cannot defeat Ruto. That Ruto has never lost an election. That's the mentality they have kept on hammering around the country. But this particular election disabuses that notion and clearly states and shows that it's possible to beat him and beat him comprehensively, as has happened in Kalou. From what indications we are getting, it's going to, as Standard has said, it's going to be a whitewash. You don't be surprised even if it will be 90% by 10%. That indeed, as a ruling party, with that kind of money that has been pumped there, with that kind of violence, state mechanization, if you can lose a by-election so horribly, it means then the grip they saw how they have been thinking about is no longer there. About the polls that were released, 32% means 68% of the people don't like you. Means 68% of the people that if you selected 5 people, 4 will say they don't want you. It's only 1 who says they want you. And remember, you're an incumbent, and you are doing your first term, which you should ride the wave. If you can pull 32%, and you are just a few months to the election, yet whatever period left, there's nothing tangible you can do, because this financial year, majority of the resources are going towards election preparedness. Next financial year, which you normally do a short one, likewise goes to the same. Okay. So any promises that can be made now are incapable of being fulfilled. So to me, where I sit, I don't see. The figures don't add up. Ruto's figures don't add up. We have walked around this country, and there has never gone anywhere where people have told us they will vote for Ruto. I do not know. Even whenever we have had challenges, sometimes has been a sibling rivalry for those who ask for governorship and the rest. There are no votes here. So I just want to tell the people of Kenya, 1, Ruto will not be the first president in Africa to lose after the first term. History is littered by very many of them who have lost election the first term, and the country did not die. That particular country went on and we succeeded. Secondly, we must use the style that has been used on Kalou. Cast your vote and protect your vote. That should be the thing. Thirdly, I truly and strongly believe that if you control and manage your votes and protect your votes, you cannot lose an election in this country. Baba Raila Amolo Odinga lost the elections of 2022 because of poor election management. That's the fact of the matter. Any other stories you are being told is all lies. We went to the Supreme Court knowing very well it was just an exercise in futility. Because I remember, even 1 week after the elections, most of the the results from the polling stations had not reached the ODM headquarters. So how? Generally, yes, I can tell you, I've won elections twice. I lost once, I have won twice. By around 8 or 10, you already know you have won an election. Because voting takes within 1 hour, it's done. So by now, you would know you already have
voting
won
in
an
1
election.
hour. Okay.
Yes. In the number start with the presidential. It's the first one to count.
Yeah.
So if you have an active data center, you will, once they finish the announce, the figures are relayed to a center. By morning, you should know whether you have won an election or not.
Okay.
If anybody proposes to announce any other results, you show your results are here. Because the agents will have signed, the returning officer will have signed, so you know the elections. That's the truth of the matter. Okay. So this one, we are emboldened, we are fired.
I can tell with a smile on your face. Aden Canaan, even as you react to what has been said, well, we have to talk about the influence of money, finances in Kenyan politics. Because borrowing from the Kalou by-election, there was a spate of development and so much money in that constituency that perhaps, 100 shillings was rendered null and void. They're talking about 1,000 Kenya shillings and above, which there's no higher currency. Speak to me about the influence money and development can have in the voting patterns of the Kenyan voter. Because if I can borrow Oundo's colleague Edwin Sifuna, who said just yesterday that building roads and stadiums is not an argument for re-election. As taxpayers, we deserve those things. They are not favors. Anyone who collects taxes can build roads. Even dictators build stadiums.
I think that's a good question, but before I respond to that, we have had, under the broad-based government, there were a number of by-elections. And 7 out of 8 was won by the broad-based government. Kasipul, sorry, Dere North, Malava, neighbor to my friends, Fuila constituency, Ukunja, Banisa, Baringo, Kalou, Emukur, Dikir.
Yes.
So only Kalou. And if you compute, Dere North is in Mount Kenya East. Kalou is in Mount Kenya West. So if we use the generalization by my good friend here, then that can only be a hypothesis. People still remain the same. There are people of Mount Kenya West, there are people of Mount Kenya East. People of Mount Kenya East, through the recent by-election, have supported UDA, have supported the president. Right now, the people of Mount Kenya West in Kalou have decided to make a different choice. But I think cumulatively, this is why I say politics is so dynamic. And we need to look at it holistically. So if we use one event, like now the by-election of today, yes, you can make certain inferences. If you use it today to say this, like the headlines that I see here, I think that will be misleading. Now coming back to opinion polls. Opinion polls in Africa are highly misleading, highly inaccurate, and unreliable. And I can tell you, find out who are the sources, find out the credibility, or even the individuals who purport to conduct those opinion polls.
The sample size.
The sample size. So me as an individual, I have no faith at all in opinion. And these days, there are so many all over. I'm sure even in your own constituency, you know the kind of people that we get in parliament. I'm sure you have seen it. Every day, they loiter around parliament asking for support just to declare you as the best MP. They will be surprised when the results of the next election actually will be declared. Some of the guys who are top in these fake opinion polls will be the last. Yeah. So to that extent, I don't believe in that. Now coming back to this money, logistics are very important in the election. Even in America, any party, you know, okay, legally, and even in Kenya here, we have domesticated the same. Resources are required because you need mobility, you need fuel, you really require logistics. But in Kenya here, you know, in America, and I'm sure Professor will agree, one time, lobbyism was like foreign in America. It's just limited to hotels and some other big conferences. Today, lobbyism is one of the most sought after, actually, cause in America. In our context, you talk about lobbyism, it's corruption. So there are certain things that we need to domesticate. So resources and money are very important. But using them illegally is not allowed. That is why we have a law that allows, that says, declare the amount of resources or money that you want to use in the election. And I'm sure IEBC has given notice. So that is allowed.
So can you fault UDA's campaign machinery in all?
Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? Bring out the evidence. We have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have CID. Bring, if you have an iota of evidence, not generalized propaganda. Take it to the law enforcement agencies. Those individuals will be taken through the normal penal court system. But that, making that generalized, today you see my good professor here in a very clean suit. You say, oh, this must have been a product of this. The next day I see the people for you, that generalization is not allowed. So I want to challenge my good friend and cohorts. If they have evidence of corruption or abuse office to any individual, please report them to the law enforcement agencies, because truly these are democracy and they will deal with it in accordance with the law. But as to the influence of money, yes, you need to have money. It's very important. You need to have logistics. It's allowed. That is why we have put a law, we have legislated a law that will regulate this. So it is not completely out of the norm. But I think there's something that my good friend has also alluded to, the politics of development and the Kenyan scenario. Which is a subset? Is it development or politics? You get the politics right, and then development comes. I stand to be challenged, to be corrected. If you get the politics wrong, there'll be no development. It's all over the world. So what the current government has done, and this is why President Ruto is unpopular with certain individuals. For the first time since independence, there is equity, there is fairness, there is transparency. Every region in Kenya here, including where my friend comes from, is getting a share of the national cake. Where I come from, I'll tell you this, where I come from, before recently, we were treated as passengers in the management of the national affairs of Kenya. Today, my constituency is part and parcel of the politics, the economic of the Republic of Kenya. If that will make President Ruto a one-time president, then we have a problem, we have a definitional problem. I can tell you this and take it to the bank. President Ruto, let me finish my statement. President Ruto will be re-elected by the majority of Kenyans, because honestly what he has done, in my opinion, and I've had the privilege of serving in parliament with Moi, with Kibaki, with Uhuru, and right now with President William Ruto. The kind of investments, the approach that we see, first of all, I can declare here, he's one of the most accessible presidents that I've ever interacted out of the four. Take that. Two, obviously you'll rate him as a highly gifted president out of the four. You also, you see, what people are doing right now is like they're saying, there are certain things that they used to take as the norm that right now, I imagine, development, the dreams, you know, the Singapore dream, the infrastructural development, the housing levy, the SHA legislation, all these things are things that were considered as new and Greek because the former heads of administration did not apply their minds to the needs of every Kenyan, to the needs of every region. They were limited in their scope. So when in my region, tarmac used to be a phenomenon associated with the Mount Kenya region. And if you had asked a student in northern Kenya, then they will tell you, what is the tarmac They will tell you a black substance found in down Kenya. Today, that black substance is in my village, and therefore the definition has changed. A black substance right now is, what's a tarmac? A black substance now found on our road. If that is going to change, this is one thing that really we need to understand. I can tell you, get ready. Even in your own constituency, Funyula, Prof, take this. And you know, your community in Western Kenya, in my community where I come from, sometimes they have certain commonalities because of their voting pattern. You know the way they have done it. A bit of I will tell you this and take it to the bank. Funyula people will re-elect President Ruto. Watch.
Okay. I think the decision will be in 2027.
Yes, I just wanted to remind him the story of those who are employed at KRA, those who are employed at KRA to enforce. So tell me where equity and fairness is in the distribution of national resources in this country. You see, sometimes we get carried away and we forget to be rational and realistic and talk to the people of Kenya the truth of the matter.
Even as Prof comes in, remember there's, and I'm no way promoting it, there's Mzalendo Promise Tracker. And according to them, if they evaluate the promises made by President William Ruto during the campaign trail and what has been actualized in terms of development, he made 243 total promises. 26 have been honored so far fully. So that's roughly 10%.
That is as far as the haters, the political haters are concerned. And they'll never be satisfied. Because, you see, allow me to say
we have to cross over to Prof. We'll come back to you. He's been patient. So, Prof, the nexus between development and voting patterns in the region. I'd like your indulgence on that.
Let me start by saying that on record, the greediest animal known is the hyena. But it does not, it's rarely, seldom does it eat its own offsprings. So I'm not going to answer to my, my student, Adan Kainan, in regard to the energy and the vigor he's putting. I'm not going to do that. But he might be part of the PR system because, I found it very strange, and must say this. When I saw billboards at the end of President Uhuru Kenyatta's term, billboards recording what he has achieved and what, I thought that was really part of the very low caliber politics, because you don't say what you have done. You let people say what you have done. Now, this government is waking up every morning and telling you what it has done, does not even give you a chance to say what you have, or to appreciate what it has done. Even giving you opportunity to say, thank you very much for what you have done. They don't give you that. They bombard you with what they have done, how messianic they are. And messianism is not part of politics. Remember, we got the 2010 Constitution. The citizen of Kenya in Wajir and the citizen of Kenya in Murang'a are equal. You don't need an individual to stand up in the morning and tell you what I have done for you or what I have not done for you. So part of the corruption of this system is essentially proclaiming itself as the savior and messiah of the Kenyan society, when we have a constitution, we have a tax collection system and task distribution system. And that task distribution system is supposed... So the moment you say I did, you are intervening and interfering with the normal process of the constitution. Because we have a parliament, we have the treasury, we have all these systems. So where did you get, this is not your father's land. You don't have the title deed for Kenya to tell us what you did for us and what you did not do for us. It is for us to say what a good leader you are. Somebody asked me in the morning, why is Nyandarua not as developed as Murang'a? And I said, because we chose the right leader. We had Michuki for the longest period. And he focused on the things that mattered, road and electricity. Before him, Kamodo had focused on education. So that make the difference. So it's the leadership. Not a single day did Michuki stand up and say, Nimewafanyia. No, he never did that. So the problem with this government is the PR approach to politics. And PR marketing and delivery in political terms are the skies and earth. Now, Kalou. On Kalou, Nyandarua is familiar with this idea of electric posts, concrete being brought the night before the election, then after the election, trucks coming to collect them. We are also familiar in all these by-elections and other elections of tractors coming to open. I'm sure there are certain roads like the Navy Bridge, which is now being opened for the 10th time. Now, let's be very clear, because it is not about us. It is about the culture of politics that we are building, and the culture of politics we want our sons and daughters to inherit. Let us, when you cheat on yourself, it's not yourself you are cheating. You are cheating your grandchildren and your grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We don't need the kind of childish politics that we are going through now. And it is not limited to the government. Even in the opposition, we need to cultivate a certain level, a certain caliber of politics that behooves us and to which we can bequeath our children. When you hear the president saying, I am more educated than yourself, we went to Nairobi University to give him doctorate. Then he's telling another one, I am more educated than yourself. He was taught by the same, by childhood friend, Degwa. He's the one who and then you are saying, even Professor Ndegwa, is that, so we need a level of maturity in terms of our politics, a caliber of leadership that we can bequeath this and future generation. What we have seen in Kalou, ministers rushing there to promise, Minister of Rads promising this, Minister of this, others who are not even ministers, who are advisors to the government behind the curtains, now rushing there to promise how much money is going to be delivered. That politics, development as politics, is negative in Kenya. And you cannot deny it. It is supposed to be part of bribery, because you are showing you are delivering, but you are not giving your own resources. We didn't see any of those people going to their banks to withdraw money to help people of Kalou. They are literally parading our own resources, the ones we have contributed as taxes, and the ones that have already budgeted for. So this politics of lies is coming because you believe you can tell people what you have done for them, yet it is not in the budget. Announce what was budgeted by Parliament. And, my intellectual son, Adan Kainan, know very well that he has been the chair of some of the most powerful committees in Parliament. And if it is not passed by Parliament, it doesn't exist. So where are you getting this development you are promising us, and they have not been passed by Parliament, and we cannot see because public participation is part of the game? So this is a government by lies, and for no future, because you have no future in lies.
Then tell me this, because at the end of the day, leaders are a reflection of who we are in the society. When a Kenyan goes to vote in 2027, what will carry the day from where you sit? Voting with their conscience? Because if we borrow from all Kalou, there might be so much money spent in 2027, and the persuasion of this particular funds or development, whichever way you call it, hasn't been tried and tested. Well, what's your take on the influence of funds in Kenyans' voting patterns, briefly?
Now, in Kalou, if the influence of money was working, it should have worked in Kalou, because the amount of money spent in that by-election is too huge. But people make their own minds, and the politicians also have a responsibility to teach their people the values. I think what was done in Kalou is to tell people, and I had it said many times, that, okay, if you're given money, spend it. But remember, the kind of leadership you are going to elect is the one that is going to determine your future. So in 2027, it's the same lesson. Now, if you listen to lies and you vote according to lies, if you receive money and you vote because you have been given money, never complain when you don't have, good leadership.
Okay.
And good leadership prioritizes what needs to be done. Part of the reason why they have elected my intellectual son in Wajir for all that period is because he delivers for his people. There's no other reason. And that's why he's my friend, because he delivers for his people. Now, if he did not deliver and he just had too many words and too many lies, he would not be seated here. So we will always have problems with money.
Okay.
As far as election is concerned. And that's why there is a law against bribery. So it's about how we apply the law. But the problem is when this bribery and this kind of misuse of national resources is at the highest level in the land. That is where we have a problem.
Ondo, as you come in, development or bribery, we heard that the gas is distributed in all Kalou are under the government-subsidized Gasietu program, and all Kalou was just being used as a launching pad, perhaps. We've had proponents of government argue in that manner, and equally that perhaps these GOK mattresses were not freebies, by the way. This is government development. So how do we draw the line between the party's campaign machinery that, of course, they have to spend to try and sell their candidate in a particular area, vis-a-vis development that, according to the Electoral Code of Conduct, you know, public officers shouldn't be launching development projects during a by-election because it might have a sway on the voting patterns of the masses. Speak to us about that.
Yes, I wonder how a mattress can be development. I really am unable to wrap my mind it. A GOK branded mattress can be development. I really do not understand how a gas cylinder, yes, it could be a program towards climate change. But why wait when there's an by-election to roll out that project in that particular constituency only? And there has been no work plan. There's no work plan anywhere to roll out the project the entire country. It is good the people of Kalou have shown them the middle finger and told them what you are doing is extremely wrong, is unprofessional, uncouth, immoral, unethical. It has done it very clear. And that has set the precedence very clear. I can tell you, Jesse, you can have so much money and then you fail an election. You lose an election. There, you know, story is told, General Mulinge. The people told him, please fold the tarmac, put in the briefcase, return it to State House. Many a times, people vote the character of the person. People vote somebody they can trust with their resources. People vote somebody whom they can believe their words. President Ruto has told so many lies. He has been unable to fulfill in most of them. It's difficult for anybody to convince anybody to vote for him because they know whatever you are telling them is a terrible, terrible lie that will not work. There was an attempt to start a road in my constituency. You know, Jesse, it has taken me several months to convince the people that truly this is a project that will take off. And I've had to call, tell them the meetings we have held, recorded everything, had to go and get the vote book that records the projects that have been approved to show them that there is actually money, for them to start believing it will happen. That trust deficiency between Ruto and the Kenyans is so predominant, I do not know how he will work on it to endear himself to the people of Kenya. On another issue, and this is a debate we are having. Yes, you are building for me an affordable housing, which I have not asked you to build for me. You are forcing it on myself. Yet,
but it was in the manifesto.
Yet, I have no food. Yet, I have no medicine in the hospitals. Yet, the capitation to secondary school has continuously reduced from 22,000 during Uhuru Kenyatta's time to 12,000 during Ruto's time. You are telling me that you are building for me a road, and yet I have no money to pay for the fuel because the taxes you have imposed on me have literally made me unable to meet my recurrent expenses. At what cost? We are telling you are building roads, yet the debt burden is ballooning every single day. Uhuru left debt at around 7 or so billion. We are now towards 14 billion, and yet even the correct debts are not recorded in the books. We have gotten to a point, yes, we are unable to undertake any development project. If you look at the last budget, I think the vote set aside for physical development, so to call, is literally less than, it's about 3 to 5%. Much, much below the threshold that has been told, set by World Bank and other modern economies. To be honest, this economy is just on the brink. Any slight shock, any another slight shock will send this economy into a recession that will take so many years. Many Kenyans at the moment, even those who are employed, they're just a pay slip away to poverty. That's a fact of the matter. There's any delay in payment of salary, if that person loses a job now, he cannot meet his daily needs the following day. That's the truth of the matter. The World Bank report the other day has said, by the end of this year, 2.4 additional million Kenyans, 2.4 million additional Kenyans will be in the poverty bracket. So how can a sane person, a good meaning person, who values the dignity of a human being, surely stand on the podium and tell us to elect Ruto?
But if I'm to be the devil's advocate, before we come to you,
Yes.
Undo, we've heard from the ruling class that they've had to make tough decisions, short-term pain for long-term benefit, national infrastructure fund, sovereign fund. They've had to think outside the box in order to, when you're in a hole, you stop digging. But at the end of the day, we still have development projects that need to be rolled out. And that's why they've sort of tried to think outside the box. Is it too little, too late? Are you trying to say it's a drop in the ocean? Is it not a good move to set up such accounts in order to ensure that key infrastructure projects are ongoing despite the little legroom we have in terms of our economy?
Just let me ask you, you have a child, and you know the development pattern of a child. Deny a child food or some nutritional food at a certain time, certain age, that child becomes a stunted growth, will never develop to become a human being. That's what you want us to do. That's what you want us to do. Deny me medical care now. You are going to build a road. Deny me medical care now. I die now. Or I suffer irreparable injuries that can never be repaired so that you build a road. There is normally in development studies, there is a balance of current generation and future generation. We clearly told him that you need to have a balance. You need to have a balance. Now, infrastructure fund, in National Infrastructure Fund, we are going to sell all the government assets. Once we have stripped everything, so what happens next? Wealth, sovereign wealth is based on wasting assets, minerals, extractive assets. Those are what we call in economics wasting assets. At one time, you will exhaust. So, what next? We are these are pyramid schemes. Don't even be bothered. They're pyramid schemes.
But they've worked elsewhere.
Where? Not for economy like Kenya,
Okay.
where the per capita income cannot allow anybody to make meaningful savings.
I think let's come back to facts. We have a very progressive constitutional framework architecture, which all of us actually participated, actually 3 of us participated in its promulgation. If you look at the opening chapter, and this will answer some of the narratives, false narratives being explained, opening chapter declares that all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with the Constitution, and the people exercise this sovereignty directly or through their democratically elected representatives. And that's what I want to use. We were told that, if we were in Parliament and being his senior, I would have ruled him out of order and punished him severely. If you disagree with an elder, you don't say an elder has lied. You use there has to be civility in your public pronouncement. You don't say a president has lied. Maybe you can say he has misled if you disagree. But I think that's outright. Just let me explain this.
Give him time.
Let me explain this. Civility in politics is not a sign of cowardice. That present, use of such statements actually is not even good for our kids, it's not good for our ethics, and I think it's good that we moderate what we want to say. We can disagree.
But even the churches are saying he lied.
That's why they are wrong. I won't say this. I won't say this. I'm coming to this. I'm coming to this.
Giving false promises.
Allow me. It is not my working. Even the British left us with a constitutional structure. They may not have accepted at all. And in particular, the people of Northern Kenya did not participate in the drafting. But we still believed in that formed the basis of our governance structure. Now, where I believe, taking into account the definition, the opening chapter of this, considering that we have 3 traditional arms of government and a number of other imagined arms, and you know the imagined arms. You know the imagined arms, good. The civil society, the civil society, the fourth state, and many others. Politics and development are intertwined. If you do not know that, then you are in the wrong profession in politics. Secondly, this government, or President Ruto, leads a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Again, if you don't understand that definition, then there's a problem. Now come back to this. Why, and I am hesitant to correct the good professor, but now that you taught me a number of theories, I may take an opportunity also to teach you a number of political narratives.
Go ahead.
In politics, and that's why maybe the good people who are together, they want you to be in parliament, because somehow you are a threat to their very existence. You see, in politics, you must have a manifesto. This is what I wanted to bring. What does the manifesto say? You must explain what you are going to do within the legal framework, within the institutions. And coming back to the budget and where my friend here, you know, sometimes you say ignorance does not, ignorance is no defense. The budget making process is a constitutional process. It's a statutory process. It's a legal process. It's a political process. How does it become a political process? Through party manifesto. This party has a manifesto. They say, I, Adam Keinanweli, a candidate for this. If I'm elected, I'll tarmac this road. I'll take this number of students for a scholarship. I will build this hospital. That is my manifesto. I'm not going to build those institutions from my pocket. I have to look for a budgetary framework to support the development of those institutions. And that's why budget, manifesto, constitutionalism are all intertwined. If you don't understand this, my good friend here, then I think maybe where I come from, we're in their need of some of these things. And therefore, what it means, and where the president gets this, the president is the chief executive of the Republic of Kenya. You can hate him, you can like him. That is why he's the head. He is both the head of government and the head of state in Kenya. You can't deny that, isn't it?
So
under this constitution, he is both the head of state and head of government.
But is it...
Let me explain this. Under the current constitution, etc., because we do not have this other chief prime minister, the president is both the head of state and head of government. Okay. That we can't deny.
Okay.
Yeah.
That being the case, he is in charge of his party manifesto. His party forms the majority in parliament. Okay? Meaning, therefore, we do not have parliament. The budget is passed through this properly constitutional legal structure. And therefore, the budget making process now, the implementation lies with the executive. And that is why the president can stand somewhere and say, we are going to give water to this particular region, because the budget, you see, again, you need to be familiar. Maybe I'm in the budget committee. The budget has a platform, has a structure. So whereas you see some of the things out of the norm, I think when we go back, I'll need to take you through some of the budgetary process so that you can also familiar with
it. I want to challenge him, and I will tell him where the lies don't add up.
Let me finish this. Yeah. Whereas in your Funyula constituency, you may not prioritize housing, the president, being the CEO of Kenya, has an overview and the interest of every part of the Republic of Kenya. And therefore, he does not need your permission to build houses in Funyula. He does not need my permission to build houses in Eldaz.
There.
No, let me explain to you this. Because he has a manifesto. And it is not, me and you, we do not support I did not. I supported Azimio. You know it. You also
Yes,
supported
I didn't
Azimio.
support and I've never supported
We
him.
were defeated, hands down. You know it. We failed.
Yeah, we failed to manage our...
We failed.
Okay, so continue.
William Ruto is the democratically elected president of the republic. And I think that reality, you know, now we are in a broad-based government. That thing, I was among the first people to say, hii kitu imeenda, wacha tukubali, hata Raila alitufata baadaye, the late Raila, na ingine yote. That is this, and I think that's where the state where my brother still is, that denial. So let's separate this.
No one has disputed.
Let's
we all agree. That's why we have one term, because that one term is legitimate.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
What is illegitimate is occurring for second time when you have failed in the first time.
No. But even that, it's not us to determine. It will be determined by the majority of Kenyan voters who will vote.
The way the Kalou people has decided.
I cannot purport
We are
here.
a microcosm of Kenya.
Okay, decorum, gentlemen.
Okay, I have an opinion.
Yes.
I'm an opinion leader.
Indeed.
I also have a vote.
Yes.
I am part and parcel of the two-term movement. He is part and parcel of... he's yet to decide.
In fact, the one term was even was an aberration. Should never have happened.
Dr. He's yet to decide. As
No, me, I'm one term.
Okay, we need to push the conversation forward.
Ultimately,
yes.
You, the Kenyan
Voter will decide.
Yes. On August 10th, 2027, inshallah, isn't it?
Yes.
So what we can say is we can inform the opinion of the public and say this is what we want. But it is wrong for us to purport to sit here and say that Ruto will not be re-elected. You can say I will not elect him. Okay?
Fair point.
You can say I will not elect him.
Okay.
I will not vote for him.
All right.
So when you say he will not be re-elected, me I'll tell you he will be re-elected. But generally speaking, this is the bit that we want to understand. We have one of the best constitutions. We have, enough space for our democratic discourse actually in Kenya. I can say what I want to say within the law. You can say what you want to say within the law. You can vote for the person. That is something that none of us is willing to compromise.
Okay.
But ultimately, we have something that ties all of us together. And this is the common denominator. That is the existence of the sovereign republic of Kenya. And that's why I'm among the people to say there shall be no room for Goonism. There shall be no room for anybody to take the law into their hands, and they must be dealt with in accordance with the law. When I make such a statement, I'll put aside all politics, and I'm a true believer in the existence of the sovereign republic of Kenya, because that's what put all of us together. And therefore, I'll be speaking as a proud, patriotic Kenyan. And that's the bit that we expect everybody else to, my good friend here, to subscribe in and say. But politically, 13 months is such a long time.
You had said that.
Yes.
Let's get reactions on that, because we need to push.
Just I want to point an issue here. He has talked about the Constitution. I want to respectively inform him as my senior that Ruto never supported this Constitution. He campaigned and voted against it, so he has no intention of living and governing within the dictates of this Constitution.
He's a Democrat.
He has accepted
he's a Democrat.
But what he has done, the antithesis of what he swore.
Okay.
Nowhere did he ever swear and authorize that he'll authorize the police to shoot young people in the leg. Where?
I think
where?
I think we are having the wrong debate.
Yeah.
This debate was not about constitutionalism or, non-constitutional.
And sovereignty.
It is sovereignty. It is about the style of governance. And in that regard, over generations, our generation, the future generations will judge their leaders according to the kind of leadership they want at that particular time. I come from Mount Kenya myself, and I was supporting Raila Odinga. At a certain stage, like Adan Kainan, I saw the tide moving. Why? Because the president said, this is an economic moment. And our leader, Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, were saying, this is a constitutional moment. They lost the game because people wanted to know how the future of the economy is going to be and their livelihoods, particularly after COVID-19, after the locust invasion, after the long drought that we were experiencing. Kenyans wanted a statement. Ruto came in as a genius with his Hasura nation and Hasura dogma. And people bought it line, hook, and sinker. Now, a couple of months later, he becomes more draconian than any dictator that we have ever seen in terms of taxes. And therefore, within a short time, people had turned. That turn has not changed. This is not about Gachagua. This is not about Kalonzo. This is not about Mother. This is not about Matiang'i. Anybody who will stand against Ruto will be judged according. This is Ruto versus the economy. It is not Ruto versus any individual. It's Ruto versus the economy. How he has been able to turn the economy around. He has not. I know Adan would talk about Northeastern and how they are. These are few entrepreneurs. We created a whole ministry at the Kibaki of regional development, and we gave it to a citizen, to a Kenyan citizen from northern Kenya. He's a witness to that. We created within this constitution equalization fund so that we take care of that. So our constitution has that solution. What we are looking at is the quality of leadership to enable us to deal with the challenges of our time. This is where we are saying, William Ruto be my friend. That one you know. So you are not here to lead it is because I am a father and I'm a grandfather in this country. The truth must be told. He has fared dismally in terms of interpreting the challenges of our time and fulfilling them. And this is what is coming from Kalou.
All right.
Kalou is a statement about the failure of leadership. Because how can people who gave you 4 million votes turn against you in such a short time? There must be something drastically wrong in what you are doing. And you don't need to be a nuclear scientist to know that you have messed big time.
Okay, handling of the economies.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Whoever had a pay slip during Kenyatta's time, and whoever has a pay slip now, if you compare the two, would you still vote for Ruto? I mean, I just want to face somebody in the face. You had a pay slip during Uhuru's time. You have the pay slip during Ruto's time. Would you still vote for Ruto? You live in the rural area where life was bearable. Even a kg of meat in most rural areas during Uhuru's time was about 300, 400, 300, something like that. Mm-hmm. Now you go to even a typical rural area, a kg of meat is now 600. Would you still afford that life?
You know what they say at the end of the day? The price of fertilizer has come down.
Yes.
The price of unga, compared to Kenyatta's time, has come down. If you look at our foreign exchange reserve, we are better off. If you look at how the Kenyan shilling is performing against the dollar, we are way better now. In fact, bei ya mafuta tumeweza kuistabilize despite the issues. So it's a case of two narratives.
Yes, sir. Just when you get time, Google the statistics from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Mm-hmm. Just Google. And Google something called non-core inflation. Then you can start having a conversation from that point. Okay. Some of these narratives is PR. There is really a country where non-core inflation is about 12%. You can't tell me we're doing well. And non-core inflation purpose of those probably who are following is a change of prices of the basic commodities. That's food, energy, and transport. And those are the things that sustain any family, any household. The latest statistics I checked was at 10.8%. So it means the last 1 year ago, whatever you would buy with 100 bob, you now need 1,000. To feed a family, you now need 10 times what you used to have to feed a family by then. What is hurting Kenyans is hunger, poverty, brokenness, lack of money in the pocket. Walk around this country Walk around Nairobi. See the many businesses that are struggling. Walk around Nairobi. See the very many vacant buildings without tenants. Walk around Nairobi. See how people are struggling even to make a sales in a day that they can take profit to go and feed their families. We are living in ivory tower. Many of us leaders, especially those who are supporting this madness of two-term, are living in ivory tower. They are detached from the common mananchi down here.
Okay.
Yes, they're detached. I want to challenge Kenan.
Yes.
I want to take him one of these days to Kamkunji. Kamkunji, the market, just opposite Shaurimoyo. Is it Shaurimoyo police station? Around there. Let's go and walk there with you and see the untold suffering of Kenyans, and there talk about Ruto, the election to those people.
We need to talk about other issues. I'll give you final.
In fact, just on the last point, you
Yes.
need to go and see that. I think the Kamukunji, you have not been to Kamukunji of late.
I was there
Go and
yesterday.
see, the ground has changed. Go and see.
I
Go
was
and
there,
see.
I was there yesterday.
Let me offer myself.
In your defense, yes, it has.
Yes, it has.
Yes,
I want to
yes.
offer myself. And everybody to hear this. Tomorrow, can we meet at 9, inshallah, in Parliament, and then I'll take you to the new, modern Kamukunji. I think the Kamukunji that you have in mind is the one that existed before Ruto was elected.
No. Let's go. I wish I can get time.
Yes,
I'm going to have a commitment
I'm sure you
somewhere.
also witness. We have a new Kamukunji.
Can we
But
go
that means
let's go on Monday.
there are a number of things. Let's move from the
Yes.
known to the unknown. Ruto was elected in 2022. And since then, first of all, Kenya is part and parcel of the global village. True or false?
You said the
Yes.
same during the corona
Yes,
and
and
the
I will say-
Russian war.
Yes, I will say-
when you
let me-
stood
let
on
me-
the
let
top
me-
of
let me
the
take you- let me
the
take you
bus
this. These are
and
fa-
say that's nonsense.
Let me,
a
let,
fact.
let me, it's
It's
a
a
fact.
fact.
Kenya is part and parcel of the global village. Two critical international events have happened since Ruto was elected. Kenya was co-opted as a strategic partner in the NATO family. And that doesn't come.
Which is the worst
The
worst thing that has happened.
Let me explain.
How does it benefit
let me
Wanjiru?
explain.
Let's give him time.
Let
does
me
it
let me explain. Let me
How does it
explain.
benefit these
Let
young
me
guys?
explain. Let me explain. Let me explain. You know, we may have different political persuasions. At least you have gone to school, I've gone to school. Our good friend is here as the epitome of intellectualism. That itself, in the history of the Republic of Kenya, when somebody will be documenting this, is a landmark achievement. Just a few weeks ago, Kenya was the only president, Ruto was the only president from the third world country who participated in the G7 meeting. Since those guys, the global powers, were foolish to admit Kenya as an associate of the NATO alliance and to invite Ruto to participate, not only to participate, but a critical informant in the G7 meeting. I think less facts. What is happening is this, my friend. There's a struggle between the haves and the haves not. The haves who have owned everything, land, the resources, the population, everything, I struggle. And I can't imagine right now somebody from Taita Taveta has the same tie as a product of the haves from certain village. They say, this tie used to be my exclusive tie. How did you end up in my shop? They say, dunia imebadilika bana, hata hiyo duka sasa iko kwetu. The group, the struggle between the petty bourgeoisies and the system headed by Ruto. These particular individuals who used to own everything, the stock exchange, the banks and everything, I suddenly now seen new individuals out of the blue because of the dynamic nature of the current system. The system has been fair, the current system is fair, it has applied openness, it has applied equity, it has applied a fair administrative constitutional approach in making sure that every part of the Republic of Kenya benefits from the national cake and be seen as part of the national. My friend, I will tell you this, Prof. I mean, my good friend here, MP for Fonyula. Kenya has moved on. Kenya has changed completely. Be part of the positive change. And I will tell you, the people of Fonyula will appreciate the development. And of course, there will be the right for everybody to say, I want to vote Ruto I want to vote him out. That is within their democratic space. But generally speaking, people are appreciating what the president is doing, and I'm sure by the time the elections come, which is 13 months away, some of the things right now we are saying maybe are not very familiar with the public will have internalized, they will have appreciated the development agenda, and I'm sure President Ruto stands a good chance of being re-elected. That's why many of us seasonal politicians are supporting his re-election.
Okay, Prof, as we push this conversation forward, and I'm sure you'll sneak in a comment about Ruto's inclusion in G7 and what it means for Kenyans, because at the end of the day, some might not break it down in terms of how exactly it benefits them. We have to talk about this Goonism issue, because it's not the first time it's rearing its head. We've had the likes of the groups of Chinkororo, Mungiki, is it Jeshi Amze? It's not new. So how are those violent groupings dealt with back then? Because if we don't learn from history, we're bound to repeat it. Break it down for us.
I wrote a book or a book-length report for Kenya Human Rights Commission way back in 1997. And I was taking stock of what had happened from 1991, when violence broke out in Miteitei farm in Nandi. And from that point, found it in Telegon, it came to Molo, it came across the country. And finally, when I was doing that research, it was in Likoni. And later on, it went to Peketoni. So the Goonism is essentially state-sponsored. That's what we found. And it's not unique to Kenya. It was taking place in Sudan, in Darfur, right? It was taking place in Cameroon, in part of the English-speaking. And it was in black townships in South Africa with the Buterezi. So this is a situation where you don't want to be accused directly of violating human rights of people. Therefore, you enter into a space called informal repression. And therefore, you want to create a distance between your responsibility and what you'll be accused of by international community of committing. So you sponsor behind the curtains certain goons. In Kenya, Maasai Morans is a normal phenomenon for thousands of years that the Maasai have existed. But this time, you use the Maasai Moran to invade parliament, right? So they come with the spears in high courts, right, of Kenya. They cannot function because the warriors are there. You go to the Kisii and you take their Chinkororo. You go to the Kuria, you take their Chungusungu. And in Mount Kenya, you bring the Mungiki. All these groups were sponsored. And by the way, Moi was not the first one to do that. The British had done that. They hired a person called Anderson, who created goons that basically fought with the Mau Mau. And they went to some pains we cannot explain here, but the first experiment in goonism was by the British themselves. They brought Ian Anderson here in 1953 in order now to terrorize villages of the people who are suspected of being Mau Mau. But the British internationally, the United Nations as well, said, no, they are not responsible. This is a civil war. Because you recruit people from the same community and call it a civil war. So that happened, but the title of my book was Killing the Vote, because all these were mechanics of reducing the impact of the vote. Where the vote is overwhelmingly in the opposition, you scatter that vote so that it will not have impact during the voting day. Where the vote is in your favor, you give it land so that it is won to you. So that carrot and stick business, and that is what we are now seeing recurring. It died a kind of a natural death after 2002. We never heard of it. What we had were political differences and conflicts, like for example, between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. That was not about sungu-sungu. It was not about these underhands or militias. It was essentially Raila coming out in public and saying, my election has been stolen and this is it. Then you can deal, you can talk because this is it. But when you use state-sponsored violence and deny, take for example, nobody in this republic can import a tear gas canister. It is not in, you cannot. Kaja would be on your case. I mean, you cannot even pass through the borders. How did tear gas canisters find their way in Kalou? They must have been released from an armory because they are within the armory of the government and given to specific officers who signed for them and literally, finally found themselves in Kalou. So this is what we are calling state-sponsored violence. Don't even call it goonism. When you call it goonism, it kind of indicts our own youth, which is not the truth. This is state-sponsored violence. And unless you call it that way, without sanitizing it, then we will not deal with it. And all of us as Kenyans, across our ethnic divides, across our regions, we want a peaceful country. We want a place where democracy is respected. Yeah. So this culture of bringing back the state-sponsored violence, that informal repression of the 1990s for political gains is not helping anybody. It doesn't make our country look good. Therefore, the government must hold to account. I had Murkomen saying that they are going to, but we have had commissions of inquiry upon commissions of inquiry. That's not a solution.
Have we ever seen an instance where the financiers were actually arrested, prosecuted?
No, they don't. That's why we are saying the British used that tactic of commissions. Whenever, for example, remember the Horror Massacre? They said an inquiry, then finally they said this is what, then they said another inquiry to inquire on the other inquiry. It's time wasting, it is all procrastination, and you want to create, to reduce memory of the people so that people cannot remember that issue. So what we want is immediate arrest of these people in Kalou. Who gave them the gun, the canisters? Because they cannot reach or Kalou unless they were released from a certain armory. Okay. Which armory did they come from? Is it for the administration police? Is it for the regular police? Or is it from some other source? But this is a government property.
Undo, I'm sure you're familiarized with the Kofi Annan Foundation report on the volatility of our Kenyan politics as we head to 2027. As I break down what we're facing, we have goons who allegedly have patronage of state that seem to walk scot-free. Some have been arrested, but those cases seem to disseminate, in one way or the other. But even the opposition can't walk away from this particular card of goonism because you're part of the same political class. And the Interior Ministry seems to point at most, if not all, politicians interacting with these characters who might fall under the goons bracket. Because one day you're going into a political meeting and you need some form of protection, and you hire a group of unemployed men who might offer you protection. But at the end of the day, how do we separate those who are unemployed, seeking opportunities, and perhaps their MP, their leader, is the lowest hanging fruit, and that's why they offer these services, from those who are taking advantage of such an ecosystem to actually cause mayhem, distract property, and at times they're armed and leads to loss of life?
Yes, it is it's a very complicated situation. Complicated, well, first of all, by historical cases where we haven't built enough spaces for our young people to get involved in gainful employment. They are idle. They have families, they have everything, they need to survive. So for them, any job, any hustle that comes their way, they will pick it without even questioning. Many times, even if you listen to social media videos circulating of any particular group of youths, I don't want to call them goons as such, who have been isolated, cornered outside, they will tell you, tuliambiwa twende kazi. Hatukuambia ni kazi gani. Tutalipwa 500, tumeshalipwa 1000, mimi tuliweka mafuta kwa pikipiki, and those kind of things.
Yes.
That simple thing, there's some element of misuse of the abject poverty prevailing in this country. But I want to trace this a little bit back slightly. After the 2022 elections, when Baba called us to go to the street to protest the stolen elections, we went. A trend started emerging that started scaring many of us. We would go as a group walking, chanting. Amidst us, you would find some guys whose faces we don't know. So if you just trail a little bit behind, they grab you and you'll never be seen again. So we kept on asking, who are these people? Luckily enough, we came to know they were plainclothes policemen who have been detailed to grab people, hide them, sneak them, abduct them without taking responsibility. Thereafter, when that tactic was, they were getting overwhelmed, you remember the case of Nairobi Business Community. Nairobi Business Community. I want us to be very clear. When they came out with rungus, in open glare, supported and escorted by the police, to attack the protesters. You can now see. You remember there was one time there was some protest where Governor Sakaja, in broad daylight, goons at the City Hall, who attacked mercilessly and aimlessly anybody they saw. So you see, the pattern is very clear. And I can tell you, this is how the system works. We propose to have goons here to disrupt a political event. The police have a blind eye. They have not seen. That day they have no eyes. They have no ears. They disappear. They only appear after the incident. That means all these goons, for them to operate, they must have support of the security system. The group that gathered that was going to attack the church in Kisumu, you cannot tell me in anybody's head that the intelligence system did not know that groups were forming. That the intelligence system did not see them mobilizing at one point and start a journey towards the church. If that happens that the police were not aware, they didn't see, then this is a banana state. If we have failed as a country. That's why I'm saying, and I want to support Professor here, these are supported, organized, and funded by the state, aided by the state. So all these other stories, we can talk about them, we can do everything, but we must hold the police and the Interior Ministry to account for the mess. There is a High Court ruling that said for any policeman to go in operation, he must have his name tag, he must have his force number. Does it happen? And then you tell us, we are abiding the Constitution, we are a law-abiding citizen, we have a president who was sent from heaven to come and save all our problems, forgive us all our sins. To be honest, we are living a lie. And you see, I want to urge Kenyans, being re-elected, winning an election, should not be a matter of life and death. Even if Ruto lost the election, he has amassed a lot of wealth. He will live so comfortably that he will not need anybody to assist him. Even if Kenan here didn't win, that's not the end of his life. He will live comfortably without anything. The other day I was with Fred Gumo, and he told the people, you might be making noise here, but the day you leave office, you will feel relieved. Now I'm happy. I'm going to live longer, more than I would have lived. So let us make it not a matter of life and death. You journalists, the media needs to tell Kenyans all over, a person winning an election should not cost your life.
And as Aden comes in, at the end of the day, we have to speak about practical solutions. We know the problem, but what's the solution? From a policy or practical point of view, you've hinted at youth unemployment and the economic disillusionment being part of the problem. looking at the policies put in place by this government. You talk about the Nyota program, you talk about affordable housing. They say that these are instances where youth have been economically empowered, whether through work during this, working in these project sites, or being facilitated with training and some finances to start and build a business. Is this enough to get rid of this youth disillusionment we have? Because we have a majority of youth in this country. Some, if not most, are unemployed and are yearning for economic opportunities. Yeah.
Yes, if indeed whatever they have said they have done has had any impact at all, you will not see any youth, you will not see any young person in the streets or in campaign meetings or political meetings during working days. You'll never see them.
Okay.
Nobody can leave his work. Nobody can leave when wanakoroga to come and go listen to a political rally where it's not going to be paid. Nobody is going to leave a patient in the ward, on a surgical bed to come and attend a political rally.
Okay.
No one will leave kids in the classroom instead of teaching them to come and attend a political rally. Nobody will leave a plant operator constructing a road to come and... So all this has been cosmetic. It has not touched. The impact has been minimal. Nyota, honestly speaking, you promise these young people 25,000, you give them 19. When they ask where is the other 6, long unwinding story that does not, even Kindiki himself was surprised.
Indeed.
He was surprised.
Yes, yes.
So
he said it's a technical hitch or something.
Yeah. A technical hitch that drops you 6,000? No,
okay, Kenan, your take.
I think on the face of it, my position on Gunism and any other criminal-related activities shall not be allowed in the modern day Kenya. That has been my position.
Is there goodwill from the relevant authorities?
Let me explain. And this has two phases. One is part of it which is politically instigated, and there's others which is poverty-driven. The poverty-driven one, I think, is something that we have to work very hard as leadership to sort it out, because there's a lot of unemployment and underemployment, you know it. There are many graduates with good papers, very good degrees, who are doing jobs that doesn't relate well with what they have been taught at actually at the university. What we have, and Gunism has been there, as the professor has rightly put it, but in different forms. These criminal activities, I was just looking at the laws. We have been generous in parliament. Actually, we have over-legislated. We have the Constitution. We're just trying to Google and see. We have the Constitution. We have the Election Act of 2011. We have the IEBC Act. We have the Election Offence Act. We have the Political Parties Act. We have the Leadership Integrity Act. We have the Penal Code. We have the Public Order Act, National Cohesion and Integration, the General Election Regulations, the IEBC Code of Conduct, the Kenya National and International Regulation. If you look at all these, all of them are related, have been drafted in a manner to respond to some of these challenges. What I want to say is this. I want to, first of all, commend the general police. Not every police officer is a bad police officer. They are part and parcel of a society. They have done fairly very well. What we want to appeal to, what we want to ask the IG and his colleagues to do, to deal with the sponsors, the agents, and the goons themselves, in whichever form, in a manner prescribed under our law. Because goonism, as I think Professor said, look at the region. I don't want to mention countries. Kenya has been lucky. We've fairly enjoyed, we've fairly been stable. Look at the region. Look at the countries south of Sahara. Look at the Horn of Africa. Look at the Eastern Africa. And I think there are certain things that we have taken for granted. The message coming from me as an elder, as a father, as a leader, as a grandfather, is whoever is in charge must make a deliberate, conscious decision to deal with goonism, to deal with any individual, whether they are politicians, whether they are quasi-politicians, whether they are really politicians, whether they are test tube politicians, whether they are businessmen, whether they are part of the petty bourgeoisie, these individuals must be dealt with in accordance with the law. For the rank and file of the police service, we commend you. You operate under very difficult circumstances. You're doing a good job, but root out this. I think once we agree, a goon is just a name, it's a goon. Regardless of whether they are associated with my good friend here
no
from,
goons.
just say, or they are associated with me or doesn't. A goon is a goon. So I think once we agree with that description, my friend, and you know, we say in law, criminal responsibility is individual. So you carry your own tack. And so I want to appeal to the youth, wherever they are. Don't get sucked into this.
There is something new which was not in the first culture of Goonism. And that may not have to do with the kind of things, the dichotomy you have done, the poverty created and those that are hired by politicians, because those are the two categories. When you see things, like for example, if you see a tank rolling in this country, from one corner of the country to the other, that comes from the military, because they are the only ones authorized to use that. If you see certain types of guns in private hands, you know they have come from the military. So you don't have to do any investigation. You just need to arrest because you know. So we're telling Kaja, the person who took these tear gas canisters to Kalou must be an officer, authorized by another officer, because you cannot go to the armory yourself and pick those and then be part of the organization. The involvement of weapons, the involvement of certain devices that are exclusively government thing, tell you where the problem. You don't need a commission of inquiry to inquire into the use of the guns, like those who you are seeing, having guns that are not in civilian hands. We know what you are given when you apply for a gun, what you are allowed to handle as a civilian. But when you see somebody handling that kind of a gun, that's not a civilian. So in short, what is now new is the excessive involvement of government forces in the culture of Goonism. And that becomes very dangerous, because when a policeman becomes a goon, it is not the same as that Nuhu or Shosho becoming a goon or ordinary person.
But how do we read these rogue elements from the National Police Service? Because as he said, it's not the whole service.
That is true. And
so how do we do it? Is domiciling IPOA at the Ministry of Interior a proper move?
No.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Fine, it's not a quick fix as we want to put it. First of all, how do we get these policemen recruited, first of all? That's the first question that we must ask ourselves. An audit must be undertaken. Do all those who are in the police there, were they recruited in an open field the way they do? That's the starting point. That's the starting point. Secondly, to what extent is the IG in charge of the police force? To what extent? To what extent?
Of an independent...
To what extent? The way the scenario is turning out to be, I trust and believe there is parallel command. And yes, I want to give you an example. The people who killed the youths during the 2024 Gen Z Mandamano in Parliament were about 5 of them. And they were in civilian. They were not in any uniform. They were in civilian. And they knelt and shot. I was standing near the Jomo Kenyatta Museum. And I saw those askaris kneel and shoot.
But they were, not all of them were plainclothed.
Those who killed those boys were plainclothes. I saw them, and I can even, I can parade them. If I ever see their faces, I can tell you, Lukuona ile siku. One of those askaris almost shot me, I and Ososi, Senator Ososi. We had gone for a certain mandamana, I don't know where it was. So we rushed back, Parliament, and the guy followed us. Almost shot us at the Senate gate. It's the same guy crucial. So there is a special squad that has been detailed to hunt down and eliminate some characters. So that squad, in order to camouflage themselves, they hide under the cover of the so-called, the old-style definition of a goon. That's the scenario that's the scenario we're working on.
You know,
it's extremely dangerous.
My good friend, first of all, I think we're all in agreement that goonism must be dealt with.
It's very dangerous.
Yes,
That bit we're in agreement.
Yeah.
My friend here is a senior citizen. He's a privileged, actually, citizen of the Republic of Kenya because he can go to the floor of the House, enjoys immunity, he can go to CID. I think instead of making such a generalized, wild allegation, if I were him, he will go on record, because I know you are bold person. We are in agreement that we must deal with goons.
Yep.
That I have always said, and I'll continue to say, there's no room for goonism in Kenya. Now, having such privileged information, taken into account here, they're also a great legislator. You will have moved the floor, you will have moved the House, you will have even sought an adjournment. Because what you are saying right now is so scary. As a good citizen.
It is.
Why?
And a disaster in the offing.
Just a minute. Tomorrow morning, because if now you have decided to go public, and it is a bit of time, it has taken a while, why don't you just walk to CID? Why don't you walk to the National Cohesion Commission? Why don't you walk to any other government security? And I'm sure it will be documented. There was this committee that was formed, and you will go on record as a law-abiding citizen who has witnessed a criminal activity taking place, and you are obligated by law. If that doesn't apply, move the speaker, come with a motion. You know the procedure, you understand very well because I know you are an astute legislator. You will get an opportunity again to have the same documented as part of the Hansard, and it will go into the archive. In this, you will have earned yourself a special place in the history of Kenya. But as of now, it just remains part of the chain of the wild allegations that you have been making against the system for the time we started this debate. After you have made so many wild allegations. So
no,
for
those
me,
are facts.
for me, because I always say, civility is not a sign of cowardice. Because we know, inshallah, as long as we are alive, we'll still meet, we'll still debate. I like your debate, but I think when you make such a generalized false allegations,
I'm saying from experience.
I am tempted to disagree.
I'm saying so
these
from
are now,
experience. Remember, I'm saying so. I've given you the experience immediately after the 2022 elections, and plus the Sufuria campaigns. What I witnessed, that's what I'm saying.
In Parliament.
And actually faced it on the floor of the House, and so on Hansard.
In Parliament, if you disrupt, if you interrupt your senior, you disrupt.
So you can only, that only applies to the speaker.
What I'm trying to say is this. Since we're in agreement that that bit of this emerging culture of goonism must be dealt with.
Yes.
And for me, it doesn't matter. And you know my record. I will continue to say this. This other bit that you are saying, if it's not propaganda, part of the propaganda that you have been propagating from the time we started this debate to now, I will encourage you. I can even second and say, look, based on the information given to me by my brother here, this issue warrants serious consideration by the House and its relevant committees. And the honors of proving will be on you because you will be put under oath. You know the procedure.
I know the procedure.
You know the procedure.
Okay.
You'll be put under oath. You'll appear before the
Parliament. What he was he was saying about the report by Kofi Annan Foundation is very, very important for us to take notice of, because we are now talking about Kalou as a by-election, which is basically a curtain raiser for 2027. And if 2027 is going to have goons, as the report argues, or report says, then we must be very, very worried of what is going to happen in 2027. And I think it's important that we have this kind of debate and expose it so that we have a peaceful election in 2027. we'll have a peaceful election in 2032. We have a peaceful election in 2037, so that we don't get into this cycle of violence every time. As he said, and I think this is an important point to keep, and this was President Kibaki's statement, that an election is not the end of the world. It is simply something that happens so that we move. In other words, you're looking for a job, like everybody else would look for a job. True. You may get it, you may not get it. Not all people who attend interviews get
there's lives before and after.
We emotionalize it. Like, for example, in 2027, I'll be one of those who will be sacking President William Ruto. I'll not be sacking him because I hate him. It's because, as an employer, because I'm one of the employers, I don't feel satisfied. Now, you as a citizen, Adan Kainan, you will want us to hire him again. And because you are satisfied with what he has done.
Yes,
and, that is a democratic debate. Yes. That's what we are saying. Where does violence come in there? Yeah. Goonism, where does it come in there?
No room.
You are just being hired or fired, and not all citizens believe you'd be hired. In fact, and not all citizens believe you should be retained.
In fact, you have said something very important, Prof. Over the last few weeks, the whole political environment actually was awash with a lot of propaganda that the government is going to allow this, the government is not going to allow the elections to take place, the elections will be postponed, IBC will do this. If you look at the number of senior individuals who have been sanctioned by IBC, you know them, isn't it? Most of them come from, you saw Gagaria, both sides of. Meaning there is fairness and objectivity. And the prediction of the naysayers that the elections will not take place, that the government is going to do this, that if they sensitive, they will do this, has all been proved to be wrong, to be just a propaganda, a part of the propaganda. So I think, Prof, I can now see why you may be going into the wrong profession, because, you know, US, where you are before now was driven by ethics, driven by facts, driven by...
I have read Machiavelli. I've read... No, don't judge a book by its cover.
48 laws of power.
We are coming to...
So I can assure you, I wish you well. Yeah. I wish you well to be elected. I wish you well to be elected by whichever group that you want to... The last time you wanted to be a senator. Now you told me you want to be a member of...
No. I only know what I will not become. MCA and a women rep. Everything else is possible.
Everything else is possible.
I'll be happy, because you told me, I'll be happy to help you draft the political now manifesto. As part of this. But I so that when I'll be saying President Ruto should be re-elected, and you say he should not be elected, I'll take you through the manifesto and what you will have done, and I'm sure at a certain stage I'll be in a position to persuade you. But having said this, I think the gist is this. This election took place today by the grace of God. And what has been demonstrated is the will of the people.
Yep.
Allowed by our constitution. And God is fair. I didn't see anything. You could see people celebrating at the wee hours of the night. Police providing security. The good IBC officers being on the ground. That clearly is a reflection of the society that we want. Everybody has an opportunity to exercise his or her democratic right within the confines of the law.
Okay.
Under this beautiful, sovereign republic of Kenya. I mean, that's one thing that I always say. And Prof, you know, I've traveled almost everywhere, even Colombia. Literally, I've gone to almost over 140-something countries. I'm left with, I think, with about 30-something. And I have a book. And I said my book will be complete once I complete this 30-something remaining. God willing, inshallah.
Okay, let's finalize.
Meaning, therefore, there's another. I went to Colombia, and if I tell you what I went through, we're being guarded by, and you know it. For us to move from here to the airport, we had to use a chopper. We did it under the auspices of Parliamentarians for Global Action. I was an observer. And I just said, and I just cried, I would say, oh, there are countries that go through this. I went to represent Kenya during the swearing-in of the first term of President Hassan.
Hassan, yes.
You know what happened to us in Al Jazeera with Professor Ngweri. We almost said we were attacked. And for 9 hours, actually, we were stuck somewhere. And we could watch the building, falling until somebody had to remove us through the window. That is because certain individuals actually played with the security and the very existence, the very fabric of it. That is not where we want to go.
Okay.
That is why, Prof, what you have said, since we're in agreement that there's no room, I'll assist you in even drafting. Please bring it to Parliament. Please take it to the law enforcement agencies so somebody doesn't repeat. To the IG and team, you have the constitutional responsibility to provide security. And I know most of you are good. Most police officers, both men and women, are people of immense integrity. Please deal with the goons in accordance with the law. That's my petition.
Okay. Final round of comments, and perhaps we can go back to politics, because at the end of the day, politics is a game of numbers. Prof, I'll begin with you, because we have the broad-based machinery led by President William Ruto, and ODM has come to support. Kenya Kwanza government is still in that political formation, and it still seems like the formation that's meant to be beaten. It's either Ruto versus economy, Ruto versus someone else, but Ruto is a constant factor. Let's talk about the combined strength of the opposition, if they indeed last the test of unity. What do you make of the numbers that were lost after Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment that perhaps might be a headache for the ruling class in terms of buffering up the numbers to get that 50+1 mark? Has ODM, the Linda Ground camp, been able to bring in what was lost fully? And what's the dynamics that we're facing in 2027?
The dynamics are very, very clear. One, there is a lot of playing around with the numbers, both by opinion pollsters and also by other people who are interested parties. There's spin doctors within political formations. But the truth of the matter, which is very, very clear, is that Ruto has lost his primary ground. Because his primary ground, which was also Uhuru Kenyatta's primary ground, was the Kalenjin Mount Kenya detente or agreement. And it delivered for Uhuru narrow 50.7% in 2013 and 54% in 2017. It did not give him that moral authority that Kibaki had in 2002 in terms of the numbers. So Ruto swept to power with the same, but this time around, Raila got a larger chunk of the vote than he had gotten before, because he got 1.3 million from the Mount Kenya region, but Ruto got the lion's share, which is approximately 4 million from that vote. So what he has lost is both 1.3 for Ruto, that went to Odinga, and 4 that had gone to him. So it's a huge chunk. Now the big game is, how do you replace this vote? First, you need to get a push of it. So he has not given up on it. And that's why Kalou was such a big issue, because you wanted to at least get 20% and know that you can replicate that across the region, and that will give him a comfortable lead. He will not have lost the 100%.
Yeah.
So that's the game. Then you now replace it, because there are 3 powerful constituencies in Kenya. One is the Kikuyu constituency, the other one is the Kalenjin constituency, and the third one is the Ruo constituency. That's from the colonial time. Reason being, these communities are able to mobilize beyond their ethnic numbers. When you're talking about Kikuyu, you're not talking about just Kikuyus, we're talking about huge Mount Kenya. The same with the Kalenjin. You are talking about pastoralists, Adan Kainan from the north, the Kushites, and the Nilotes to a great extent. So he has now tried to bring in the Lake Nilotes. That is the rule. And that is where the game is losing. Because the Lake Nilotes have not just been alone. Raila's constituency was larger than a Ruo constituency. Raila did not just command a rural constituency. He commanded a larger Western Kenya constituency, coastal constituency, northeastern constituency. Those people who traditionally had come to align with him. Can Ruto inherit Raila's constituency? No, because it's a different ballgame. So, in short, 2027 will be very difficult for him. I know I stood here the other day and said, Raila is not going to win the AU seat. And most people threw rotten eggs to me until it became true. 2027 is a gone case for William Ruto. But it is not a gone case if you look at America. In America, Trump lost in 2020. He came back because constitutionally, William Ruto will have a second term, or can have a second term, either concurrently or in separate.
Yes.
Because constitutionally, he's allowed to do that. But for 2027, it's a gone case. So that one I can tell you, it is a gone case by virtue of counting the numbers. Trust me, I've been in the back rooms of these elections for a long time, because the numbers will not add up. Because you lost the traditional constituency that delivers you to power. And the constituency you want to replace it with is itself divided. That's why Leader Mwananchi and Leader Ground are there. That tells you that ODM is totally divided.
And in 10 seconds, is the youth vote vanity? Can you count on it?
No, this is the problem. Traditionally, if you look at 2022 election, who won it? It was not William Ruto, it was not Raila Odinga, it was the Kenyan who decided not to vote. 8.1 million voters did not vote. Ruto got 7.1 and Odinga 6.9. Now, this time, because of the Gen Z uprising, and the fact that they have decided that their problem will be solved through the ballot, then this is the game changer.
Undo, at the end of the day, the true test of unity in the opposition is a Herculean task, where we've seen perhaps proponents of government trying to disunite the opposition. We have Linda Mwananchi that has been gaining ground, of which you're a part of. But at the end of the day, since you're all in the united opposition in one way or the other, talk to us about this issue of waiting to announce the candidates and the running mate. Is it cowardice, as Justin Muturi hinted, or is it political strategy from where you sit?
Before I answer that, I just want to pick up where Prof has left.
Yeah.
Broad-based government was UDA and ODM. ODM, the current leadership of ODM, have mistreated our Edwin Sifuna. So ODM, the current ODM, cannot come and request the lawyers to support Ruto's re-election, because that relationship is now severed.
But there's a lawyer in cabinet.
That's cabinet. But where the political decisions are being made, Oparanya cannot sit down with the president of his employer and negotiate. How? How? Now, we have made one statement consistently, that none of us will be used to divide the votes that are against Ruto. Anybody who attempts to divide the votes that are against Ruto, Kenyan people will punish him or her ruthlessly and mercilessly. We are looking at when did Baba Raila Amolo Odinga declare Kibaki Tosha? 3 months to the election, and it was a whitewash. We are not in a hurry.
But Kibaki wasn't facing an incumbent.
No,
certain dynamics that are different.
An incumbent supported incumbent. Was supported 100%. So generally, we are not in a hurry. As we proceed, as we go along, as we walk around, indications are already emerging. Formations are already emerging. We will find a candidate at the right time whom we know and we believe can offer a better solution to the problem of Kenya. Yes, defeating Ruto is one of the top priority, but resetting this country for posterity is one of the topmost priority. Because we don't want to change the monkeys in the forest. We want to drain the swamp. We want a new dispensation that will be receptive to the calls and needs and aspirations of the people of Kenya. Look at the Obama-Biden scenario. We are trying to build scenarios. Look at the Michael Wamalwa euphoria that he generated in Luhya land, where the Luhyas had never voted together as a group. You know, these dynamics, the numbers, the situation. My friend, my senior here. Okay. But good, I just wish you come back in Parliament so that your experience will not be lost.
As we conclude.
Why I'm laughing? Even that Pakitosha, I wish Prof will tell you how it happened. The story between Uhuru Park and Hilton.
Yeah, we know. And Serena.
You know, it isn't. I am not authorized to talk about it. But some of us are in Parliament and we know the history. So it's not something that you can over-glorify. I can tell you, maybe you can sit down, I'll take you through how it happened. And then later on, we claim what and whatever. So,
I'm aware, to
that extent, I'm limited because I am a man who believes in civility, and some of the players, and most of them, the senior players, are not around. Yeah. They have left us. I think I'll be limited in my interrogation.
Okay, finally.
But I think there are certain things that we must take into account. This country has been changing, demographically, economically, politically. These realities must sink in the minds of Kenyans, in the minds of those who are today. Things are not the same. In fact, if you compare the elections since the advent of multipartyism, 1992, to up to 2022, you will realize every general election is different from the subsequent general election.
It is.
If you look at 92 and compare with 97, Prof,
it's different.
It's completely different. The players are different. Even, you know, the contextualization of the way that general election was conducted is completely different. Compare 97 with 2002. Compare 2002 with 2007. Compare 2007 with 2013. 2013, 2017. 2022, and I can bet 2022 will be completely different. You can see already certain emerging trends, the broad-based and this.
Okay.
So because of this, guys will be surprised. Will be surprised. They'll be surprised because of this, the collision of interests, of like-minded that will come out of this. You'll be shocked. You know,
Finally.
Your community and my community, historically, because of abuse of colonial power, have been divided. You know it, isn't it? You know that's a deliberate colonial policy, yeah? That you identify the Luhyas and you fragment them, just like it also happened in your own area. Fragment them into small groups, create cultural differences, linguistic barriers, give them names, anoint a chief, so that they see themselves as independent. That culture is still persistent. It's also in our place. We are trying to fight it. It's very difficult. These people, the 9 kids of Mumbi, there were 9 or 8?
9. 10.
The 10.
10.
The 10
but we say 10.
have refused that knowledge. That is why today, my friend, in our census, you shall say this, they are 17% of the population. But in terms of the registered voters, they are 27% of the voters. In your community, you are almost over 10-something%, but less than 5% of the registered voters. That, if you dig critically to that, there's something. And that's what we think that we need to do.
The Luhya voters are not only in Luhya land. They are spread all over.
Let me explain to you. I'm just saying generally.
We're pressed of time, gentlemen, as you finalize.
This is a very retrogressive way, mindset, I want to win you over time. I understand my Luhya people better than you do.
What I was trying to drive at, the collision of interest or like-minded that will emerge out of this broad-based government. You'll be shocked with the numbers. Shocked with the zeal and the determination. And that is what is going to earn William Ruto a second term. Okay. Even the people of Funyola will vote William Ruto.
Let's finalize on that point. Gentlemen, I really appreciate your indulgence. It's already Friday, a couple of minutes past midnight, 9 minutes past midnight. So good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time right here. I think it was a proper discussion, even as we're able to highlight what's happening in Kalou and the far-reaching implications on Kenya's political space. Joined by none other than Professor Peter Kagwanja, CEO, Africa Policy Institute. We're equally joined by Wilberforce Oundo, Member of Parliament for Nyula constituency, and last but not least, Aden Kainan, the Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency. Gentlemen, asanteni sana. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of KTN Prime. Remember, as early as tomorrow morning, we will be bringing you updates on what exactly has transpired in Kalou. Of course, the papers and the dailies have recorded that the DCP candidate is likely to emerge victorious, but IEBC is yet to declare the winner. So that could happen in the wee hours of Friday morning. And as KTN, we're up to task and we'll bring you up to speed with the very latest on that particular note. I'm Jesse Rogers. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your viewing if you'll be doing so, but have yourself a good night. Bye-bye.